Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever looked in the mirror and realized you don't quite recognize the person looking back? Today, we're diving into something deeply relatable, but honestly, it's almost never talked about with the clarity it deserves. We're going to explore this quiet, totally unnoticed phenomenon of losing your identity, and that profound exhaustion that just follows right behind it. It's called the invisible fade, and wrapping your head around this concept, it might absolutely change how you view your own daily energy and sense of self. We so often think of losing ourselves as this huge, dramatic, movie-like event, a massive career collapse, a sudden breakup, or a total breakdown, right? But the truth is, losing your identity rarely happens in one cataclysmic explosion. It isn't this loud, sudden crash you can easily spot and react to. Nope. Instead, it sneaks up on you in ways you are, frankly, completely blind to. Part 1. The slow, invisible fade. We constantly tell ourselves, oh, I'm just being accommodating, or I'm just being flexible. But beneath all that flexibility, there's this gradual erosion of your very foundation taking place. You can seed a boundary here, like, say, agreeing to a schedule that totally exhausts you just to help out a coworker. Or maybe you silence a preference there, like going to a restaurant you secretly dislike just because you don't want to cause a fuss. Because each of these choices seems so incredibly minor on its own, you literally don't notice you're gone until you look around and realize, wow, I'm already missing from my own life. Section 2. Diagnosing full tiredness. So we often look at our lives, feel this immense weight we're carrying, and just write it off as simple, everyday exhaustion. We think, I just need a vacation, or I just need a really long nap. But let's get really clear on what we're actually dealing with here. Soul tiredness isn't about physical exertion. It is the direct result of carrying the psychological burden of everyone else's expectations for decades. Notice that timeline, decades. This is a chronic, long-term carrying of weight that honestly was never yours to begin with. And here is the absolutely crucial contrast we need to make. While physical exhaustion can totally be cured with a good weekend of rest, soul tiredness acts way more like a parasite. Over time, this psychological weight literally integrates into your very skeleton. You stop even recognizing it as a heavy burden you can just put down. Instead, soul tiredness completely tricks you into believing that this terrible, crushing heaviness is just your natural state of being. Part 3. The survival mechanism. So how exactly do we get to a point where we're carrying everyone else's expectations until we're completely exhausted? It doesn't start out maliciously, you know? You didn't just wake up one morning and decide to abandon yourself. It's a step-by-step adaptation. It starts in step 1, where we simply learn to keep the peace just to ensure our own safety in our environment. And to do that, we move right into step 2, adapting to become whoever the room needs us to be. Until finally, in step 3, we become these master chameleons, flawlessly mirroring others just to keep things perfectly calm. But here's the ultimate tragedy of becoming a master chameleon. Yeah, you survived. You kept the peace. You blended in perfectly. But the cost of that highly effective adaptation, it was your own essence. By surviving so effectively, based strictly on what others needed, you basically traded away the core of who you actually are. Section 4. The cost of adaptation. Now, let's take a look at the tangible things, these specific, real-world pieces of ourselves that we traded away just to make others comfortable. Think back for a second to the physical expressions of yourself that you just let go of. Like, maybe you stopped wearing that vibrant color you absolutely loved simply because someone told you it was too much. You literally muted your own colors. You dimmed your own light because you were deemed too much for someone else to handle. And it goes way beyond just what you wear. Consider the times you actively stifled your own joy and quieted your natural, spontaneous reactions to avoid being judged. Muffling your own authentic, loud laughter because someone made you feel small or called it embarrassing? That is a perfect example of one of those tiny choices that just slowly chips away at your foundation. It even bleeds into your voice. You might have stopped sharing your opinions because asserting your truth simply started to feel way too exhausting. I mean, when you are already carrying the massive weight of everyone else's expectations, you completely lack the energy for the fight that's inevitably going to follow your honest opinion. So what do? We choose silence over authenticity. And perhaps most painfully, you put your own ambitions on hold. You tucked your dreams away because everyone else's need for your labor, your time, and your emotional support somehow took absolute priority.
Your own future started feeling like this wild luxury you just couldn't afford while trying to maintain the entire ecosystem of people around you.
Part 5. The Empty Room. So all of this relentless performance, the muting of your colors, silencing your opinions, hiding away your dreams, this is exactly what leads directly to that deep, heavy soul tiredness we diagnosed earlier. Because the truly terrifying trap of this survival mechanism is that we get so incredibly good at it. We spend decades perfectly mirroring others. But then, when the performance finally stops, we realize we literally don't remember how to exist just for ourselves. We've spent so long being exactly what everyone else needs that the muscle of just being ourselves has completely atrophied.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to really chew on. When all those expectations are finally stripped away and you stop being a chameleon, who is the person left standing in the empty room? Finding the answer to that question is absolutely the first and most important step in reversing the invisible feed. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope this helps you begin to finally put down that weight you've been carrying.